Scott, I wanted to get your perspective as a 24-year executive in the NBA. Break it down for the people.
Absolutely. And I'm going to look at both sides of this deal. And first of all, to start off from a global perspective, I think both teams accomplished an objective that is fitting for either where their team is at now or what their organization is about. Okay. What do I mean when I say that? Let's start from the Dallas Mavericks perspective. And let me give Nico Harrison, before I forget, a lot of credit for stepping up and making a big, bold move when, quite frankly, a lot of people in his position may have not done that, been afraid to do that. But you got to give him credit, and you have to understand nobody knows the locker room in Dallas better than he, Jason Kidd, and the people that work there. So when people look at, oh, how can they trade such a transcendent talent or great, player, those kind of things, they know him because they were faced coming, just a few months from now with having to pay this guy maybe $345 million. And you've heard me say this many times before. You've got the talent, you've got the person, they're not mutually exclusive. And again, I don't know Luka Dončić, and I'm not suggesting that, quote unquote, he is a bad guy by no means at all. But what I am saying to you is when I analyze him, ever since he's been in the league, there's been talk about him not being in the best condition. Defensively, it's clear to see he's rarely engaged on the defensive end. He does not bring a lot of defensive integrity. Is he one of the greatest offensive talents that we've seen, not only in this generation, but generations before? Absolutely. The guy is phenomenal on the offensive end of the floor. Now, with that said, people, I hear the talk about, well, he's only 25, he's 26 years old at the end of this month. He can change. He's still young. He's been a pro for a long time. He's been an NBA pro 7, 8 years, but he was a pro prior to that. And he had been given the keys to the franchise by Mark Cuban well before Nico Harrison even got there. So I'm laying all this out to give people an understanding that what goes into a thought on why you would trade this guy, because you're coming off a finals berth last year where he clearly, conditioning was an issue once again. He's never played 70 games in the regular season. And defensively, again, he's a huge liability defensively. So then you're hoping, okay, well, he's only 26, he can change. Well, what's going to make him change? And like I said, he is the franchise guy. And then you're going to give him $345 million on top of that. So the bet here, from at least where I'm sitting, is just saying, okay, they targeted a player in Anthony Davis that obviously Nico knows from his time at Nike and his work there. And Anthony Davis, conservatively is a top 10 player in this NBA for sure, on talent alone. And he plays both sides of the floor. Yeah, he has an injury history as well too, but they know the person as well. And I would argue that him coming in the door makes Dallas a better overall team right now than Luka. Because if Luka didn't come back from this past offseason in better shape, which he didn't, the reports are he came in 260, 265 or whatever his weight was. If that didn't spur him on last year, the losing in the finals didn't wake him up to say, oh, I got to get in great shape. I let us down defensively, all those kind of things, that he didn't show that change then. I'm sure if you're Dallas, you're looking at that, well, wow, what's going to make him change? And Nico and those guys are saying, look, we've got, Kyrie is playing some of his best basketball. He has been a number one option on the team before. He was key to the run to the finals last year. Anthony Davis has won a championship as well there in LA. So you got two guys that have won a championship. I really like the depth that they have in Dallas. So their team, especially in the short run, next couple, 3 years, is going to have a chance to challenge an OKC, who I think right now is still the top team in the Western Conference. But this puts them firmly in the mix to have a chance to get back to a final and maybe win it all. From the Lakers' perspective, the Lakers, ever since I was a little kid, have always had a star name, star brand to identify with. Getting Luka Dončić now, taking advantage of the opportunity that was presented to them by Nico, I understand why they did that. So now they have their star name to transition from LeBron to Luka Dončić now. They had, that's important in Los Angeles to have that. Now, what that yields in terms of wins and losses and championships, the jury's going to be out on that. And the last thing that I'm going to bring up about the deal too, and what I really like the fact, and I want to answer this because people have been critical. Well, why didn't they at least shop this deal around? When you're going to do a big deal like this, and I don't know if you've heard me say this before, Mo. BJ has heard me say this before, but the majority of the trades that you make in the NBA are going to be done with people that you have a strong relationship and that you know well and you have some level of trust. In this instance, Rob Pelinka, Nico Harrison have a 20-year history going back to Nico's time as a Nike executive when he went to recruit Kobe Bryant away from Adidas, and Rob Pelinka was the agent for Kobe Bryant. So they had negotiated together a lot, shared a lot, and you could go to him in confidence and keep this thing quiet. Because if it gets opened up, like what people want to suggest, there's so many things that now that can go wrong. Then you get teams that aren't as serious, that are just offering all kind of crazy stuff. It's your job a lot of times as an executive, if you know what you want, obviously they know they wanted Anthony Davis. You went directly to the source. And guess what? If there was no interest there in the story, in the discussion, they would have just probably waited and maybe, waited till the off season to make a move like this. So, but kudos to them for keeping it quiet like that, because it's hard to do. I know that personally, but I was pretty effective at that during my time, because look, you don't want to, when you start getting media types, and know if BJ was a longtime agent and all like that. All agents aren't created equal. Things can get really messy, and it can keep you from getting business done. So they got what they wanted. The Dallas Mavericks, clearly, they were very targeted in that, and so I have no real issue for that. Now it's because it's a different situation than say, like, okay, what's going on with Jimmy Butler right now, or what's even went on. I know we're getting ready to talk about De'Aaron Fox, where it came out that De'Aaron Fox wants to leave Sacramento. Okay, so yeah, now those are the kind of deals you shop. But something like this, kudos to both sides, really, but in particular, Dallas's side in terms of being very targeted and keeping it quiet.
BJ, I wanted to just get your thoughts again. With Luka Doncic and the point Scott made about his defensive liabilities, the Mavericks themselves won a championship in 2011 centered around Dirk Nowitzki, who, to his credit as a Hall of Fame player, wasn't a great defender, but they surrounded him with great defenders. The Mavericks, after their moves at the trade deadline last year for Daniel Gafford and PJ Tucker, they turned into one of the better defenses in the entire NBA, a defense good enough to get them to the NBA Finals. Do you not believe it to be possible that you can build a championship winning team with a player like Luka Doncic on the floor?
Wisdom has taught me, Mo, that there's more to this than I can see. Scott just mentioned it. I mentioned it, I think, Saturday when we taped. I can only comment about what I can see. And what I can see currently is what I see in the games. What I can't see is Scott alluded to. The executives that are participating in a move like this, They have an advantage that we can't see, which is practice, the locker room, the person, and all of these things. So wisdom has taught me the following. Talent can't replace leadership. I can only comment about what I see. And what I see is just in the games. I can look at the stats. I can look at if I had a player that was in the locker room, maybe share a story or two, or a coach that I knew and share. However, I'm not there. So because I respect this game, the game is the star of the show. The talent that we all are commenting about, we see offensively who this player is. I don't think anyone will argue with that. However, what we know is if we're going to win, it's going to require effort and energy. Effort and energy is one of the things that we have to have if we're going to have a form of success. How do I find success? Success means you have to do your very best every single time you participate in whatever you're doing in life. Forget basketball. That's success. I can't ask more of another human being other than to give me your best. Right now, I have to respect the decision that was made by Nico and the staff and the ownership group there, because they made a decision based on something I can't see. I can't see it. And I'm not going to fall into the trap of beginning to comment about something that I know, because let me assure everyone there, the Dallas fans, the fans around the world, everyone, oh man, this is crazy. This is crazy. However, no, this is not crazy. When you have to make tough decisions about people, and Scott knows this better than most, you have to take into account the people that are in your building. You have to take into account the type of culture, because that leadership that you are required to have, if you're going to even have a chance to be a championship caliber team, that leadership is going to lead right into the next thing, culture. The culture is going to lead into the behaviors that you have to exercise every single day to achieve anything in this league. Okay. And then that culture, we can evaluate all of this by the results that we get. And you have to make these decisions based on people, not players, people. I don't know that. None of us know that. The only people that know that would be Nico and coaching staff, because they're every day. And then with the ownership's guidance, the ownership's approval, whatever you want to call it, you try to make a calculated decision on what's best for the organization moving forward. So all of these things that are being said, I look at it from this perspective. Anything that challenges the conventional way of thinking is a threat. This decision here is challenging the conventional way of thinking, because everyone is utilizing the same argument of why would they do this? Look at his stats. Look at his five-time, what is he? 5-time, 6-time, first team All NBA.
Yeah.
Okay. We have a person right here on this show, Scott Perry. Scott Perry, how many conference finals did you guys go to, Scott, there in Detroit?
6 straight.
Six straight. How many finals did you guys go to, Scott?
2.
This gentleman right here, Scott Perry. There was another gentleman who was the president, GM, Joe Dumars. They went to 6 conference finals. They were never in the luxury tax, and they never had a max player.
Right.
And then you gonna fool me. Now I'm 57. Now they may fool you, Mo, because you weren't around as long as I've been around. And then they're gonna start telling me about analytics and conventional way of thinking, da 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 da. Well, I've been around enough to know the facts. Now these are the facts. I'm not giving my opinion and I'm only going to give you the facts so that you can digest and you can take a deep dive. So when you start saying analytics, we should be asking Joe Dumars and Scott Perry, how did you do it in a small market? We should start asking, how do you construct a team? We should start asking what is necessary if we're going to have leadership, if we're going to have culture, if we're going to start evaluating the type of behavior that's acceptable in our building. And more importantly, let's look at that by the results that we get, because we know where we want to go. So all of these things take place, but these little distraction arguments, they're just distractions. This is a results-driven league. No one's arguing about Luka's talent.
No.
But something must have happened, or they know something we don't know. And this, to me, is the great unknown. And now we have to accept it. Now we have to move forward, because I think now the NBA, and I always give you my opinion, and I always tell you when I give you my opinion, this is my opinion. I think the NBA just pushed the reset button. I think they pushed the reset button because now these mega max salaries that they have to make a decision on, when you look at these numbers, you have to have two things that you guys Scott been knowing me practically my whole life. There has to be a responsibility that comes with that mega max. And there has to be an accountability that comes with that mega max. No question. These other executives and these people are saying, why? Secretly, everyone's asking the same question, because that comes with the responsibility when any executive says, whether they willingly know this or not, when you give someone that type of money contract, you're basically saying we're competing for a championship. That's what you're saying.
And
absolutely.
You say it's a results-driven league. Luka Dončić is 25 years old. He's been to the conference finals twice and the NBA finals once. Okay. So the results are there, even regardless of his effort.
I'll say it again, because I don't want anyone focus on what you focus on. If that's what you can see, that's your argument. I've said this, and I'll just say it for the last time. There has to be something that I can't see. I can't see it. Because I got it. When you are an executive, you have to take in the entire picture.
No question.
There's more to this than just the game. There's more to this than just the game. So no one, myself included, is arguing what I can see. His stats speak for themselves. His accolades speak for themselves. Well, what is it then? The only people that can truly answer that responsibly are the people who have access to information that I can't see, because I understand the responsibility of that job. So I'm not going to sit here because I have a microphone in front of me and begin to do something for the high take. I respect this game too much. I want all these players to win. So my job is to say, okay, this is what I can see, and to understand this was a very difficult decision to make all around. And I respect that. See, because I've lived in that hot seat. When you live in that hot seat, you understand what that decision entails. This isn't why? I'm not questioning why. I have to question the reason. I have to sit here and say, what could have possibly played out? And there's only a few things that I think that I can think of that could play it out to even embrace that situation. And here's the most unique thing about it, guys. They initiated the call as it was reported.
Right.
This wasn't like someone. Scott can tell you, he can verify. People are calling you always about your players. They initiated the conversation according to what I read.
Right.
So what happened where that was the relationship that was there internally with the team, with the executives, or whoever the decision makers are, that they initiated the call? And this is what was reported, and this is all I can see.
Scott, I'm gonna put you on the hot seat right now. If you were the executive over there in Dallas, would you have made this move? or would you have kept Luka and paid him the supermax?
First of all, again, like BJ made the point, the information, if I'm sitting in there and having full information. So again, that I don't know, I'm not in the Dallas locker room. Okay. I respect it. I'm not anti that he made this decision, put it that way. You follow what I'm saying? But it would be for me to just blanketly say that without being there on a daily basis.
That's
that might
irresponsible.
that would be irresponsible on my end. But just knowing the little bit I know about, Nico, he's not a rash kind of person. He's very analytical himself. He's gonna. This wasn't a knee-jerk reaction, in my opinion. I haven't spoken to him yet, but so I'm going to respect and I'm going to trust. My answer: I'm going to trust him in his thought process and how he got here, and respect his decision, if that makes sense. In doing this. So I'm not going to say, and I listened to his press conference, and the one thing that I really loved at the end, I don't know if it was the end of it, beginning of it, because I just kind of heard it in snippets, where he said, look, obviously the owner had to approve it, but this decision is on me. And if it works, great, I own it. But if it doesn't work, I own it. And I love that. That's leadership. See, a lot of these guys, in these seats won't come out and definitively do that. Most of them probably wouldn't even have made a move that bold like that. Because you know what? The safe thing, Mo, what you're alluding to, without me knowing anything, okay, to your point, Luka Dončić, great talent. They've been to a conference final. They've been to an NBA final. He's won, top 4 or 5 MVP voting every year. We just hold on to him, and we'll win a lot of games. And okay, if we win a title, great. If we don't, also great. That's a safe move. What Nico's doing here is saying that he's trying to win a title now. Didn't believe that in getting Anthony Davis and Max Christie and what they did and moving on from Luka is going to enhance his chances of doing that. And so now it's got to play itself out now. That's the beauty of this whole thing.
There has to be more moves, because if you're doing all of this talking about defense wins championships, you've now got Kyrie and Klay Thompson in your backcourt. I don't know how that's going to hold up defensively. Even though, it'll be great having Anthony Davis at the 4 and Lively and Gafford at the 5. Now you've got PJ Washington trying to guard other teams' 3s, and then I don't know how you're going to guard the other team's guards. There's got to be more moves coming.
I know. I don't know. But you see, here's the thing on that, Mo. I would just, Klay Thompson cut his chops in this league. I know he's older now, but he cut his chops in this league as a defender. Yes. He may not be, quote unquote, the same lockdown guy that he was at 26 or 27. However, there's an integrity that comes with a defensive integrity that comes with him that allows you to put out a really good team defense. And Kyrie himself, even though he may not be recognized as a great individual defender, but if you watch the playoffs last year, his team defense didn't sacrifice your integrity. You follow what I'm saying? And now you got a back line that can really defend there, and you got depth as well, and guys can come off the bench and defend as well. I think this team is in a much better place defensively than they were before this trade was made.
Interesting.
I don't know what you feel, BJ, if you agree with that.
Well, you know, when you start saying defense, I want you to give me the effort and the energy that you have, and then allow yourself to be entrenched into our team defense, and then it's our job as coaches, executives, to figure out the matchups. Everyone can't be a great defensive player, just like everyone can't be a great offensive player. However, there are some things that are universal, like getting in a defensive stance. Now we keep track of blow-bys.
Yeah.
Now let okay, if this is a bad matchup for you, then it's my job to figure out the matchup for the team. However, if you don't give me any effort or any energy, or you're not even engaged on the defensive end, individually or with the team, that's a problem, because we have to have accountability. Everyone has to have an accountability. If you give me your best, I just sat here and said, if you give me your best, I don't have a problem with that. I don't think there's a coach in the world that has a problem with someone who's giving you their best effort. The problem that I do have is when you don't give me any effort at all.
You don't, like to PJ's, you don't have to be great on ball. You like, see, you may lack some foot speed or quickness to be a great guy stopping dribble penetration. But what you can be, regardless of how quick or how slow your feet are, you can learn to be a good help defender. See, on the weak side, being able to make plays, see things, be in the stands, be engaged. If you don't do either, that's problematic.
Now you're a liability. Now we are a liability.
Liability, exactly.
And you ask any coach this: if your best player doesn't give the effort and the energy required,
Right.
let me assure you, you're not going to be there much longer, because that's not how this works in professional sports. That's not how it works anywhere. Everyone has to give the effort and the energy. You can't just play half of the game and then the other half, the other guys are doing all the work. That's not how this works. So whatever is happening, all right, at some point it'll all come out. But defensively, Klay Thompson is a very prideful defender. I know Klay. He's a very prideful defender. Kyrie Irving takes on his matchup. Okay? He takes on his matchup. So whatever is required to win a championship, both of those guys have done it. They've been to multiple finals. I think, how many is Kyrie? Kyrie's won one at least?
He's
won two?
He's won one.
One, but he's been in two finals.
He was injured in the
two
first
finals.
final. And then, yeah.
Okay. And then we know with Klay was arguably, he should have been. I know he's at least he's got to be on the all defensive team, what he's put in or somewhere. I would think he has, because
he's been
on
the years. Yeah,
he was an elite defender. Okay, he took on the best player, perimeter player, regardless whether they were a lead guard, two guard, small forward. So his versatility on that end, he's proven. He gets a pass. He gets an automatic pass because I know what he can do on that end. And he did it at an elite level. He's guarded every elite player in this era. Okay? So that is of no question now. Age catches up with everyone, but I don't have a problem what has transpired in Dallas, this trade. I don't have a problem of the why of it. I don't have a problem of what has happened, because the only people that know are the people who did the deal. And I want to be respectful, and I want to be mindful of how difficult of a decision that was. I understand the perspective from the fans. I get it. But this is great that we're talking about this. I think this is great for the league. I think it's great for business. Mo, I know you're probably somewhere deep down, you're really upset because you're looking at it saying, next year this upcoming year to Christmas, there's going to be the Lakers versus the Celtics.
Why would I be upset? We gonna kick their ass.
Yeah, you are. But you know what, Mo?
Tatum's dropping 50. I don't care.
Hey, Mo, they got a chance.
They got nothing but ugly yellow jerseys. That's what they got.
So I like this energy. I like what this brings. And you know what? Let's move forward. I like it. This is the type of competitive spirit. This is the type of tension that is needed. And this puts everyone on notice, because now, let me assure you this. If I were a star player in today's game, I would be.
Yeah, I was laughing because last night I saw the tweet that Paul George and Joel Embiid resumed their on-court activities last night.
If I was a star,
people get traded. I never thought it'd be traded. Yeah, right, let me get back to playing.
I think, and Scott, can comment on this. I think this put everyone on notice. That's why I think they pushed the reset button. Because if you can trade Luka Dončić, everybody can be traded.
Yep.
Because I'm just being conservative. He's a top 5 player.
Everybody except Bradley Beal and LeBron James. Well, no, exactly. Everybody but those two. But no, it does. And when people look back at this trade, I've been hearing this is the biggest trade ever, historical. And then some people, trying to trash the deal that it can go down as the worst trade. No. See, they're not taking a global look at this thing. What happened here, like I said, there is a reset. And while these executives who are anonymously commenting about, how could they trade him, blah, 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 Nico Harrison has made their jobs a little easier today. See, there's strength in numbers. Because there's only a handful of guys that would have, in my view, that would have really pulled the trigger like that, considering the information that, that obviously Nico thought he had. But now this is going to maybe allow more teams, more executives, even more owners to say, okay, let's do a real evaluation before we decide to say we're going to give away $300 million to a particular individual and sign him up for 5 more years. What are we signing up for? And make that determination. Again, it's
Scott.
Yes.
I want to ask you, what would be your requirements to signing off on $345 million? What would be your requirement? Because Scotty, that is, I always use the following: follow the money. If I want to know something, I just follow the money, and the answer is there. What would be your criteria for you to recommend to the owner that this is the right thing to do? Floor is yours.
Yeah, no. First of all, the player, and we've talked about it in this conversation so far, I can never question his effort, his conditioning level. He's got to be in elite condition. His approach has got to be that he wants to be the best there is, and he wants his team to be the best they can be. And I'm stressed that team part because he's got to be he's got to be the example on and off of the court for leadership. That as I bring people in this organization, that people are going to follow him because he's all about the right stuff. I don't have to question about him, a question about whether he's going to be in shape and whether he's giving his all on both ends of the floor. That's a non-negotiable. Now, there's a business side to it too that in this instance we're talking about with Luka. So he covered this part in Dallas that they sold tickets, so that and so you from a business standpoint, the guy has some box office appeal to keep your business running, and the most, and the next most important thing, even before that, does this guy give me a chance to really be competitive and compete for championships year in and year out? It's a very high standard. I think what we've seen in the league over the last decade, that standard has been lowered for a variety of reasons that we don't have time to really get into. But I think this now is going to raise that standard. This deal opens people out to raise that standard to these things I'm talking about, and they've got to be non-negotiables. They have to be non-negotiables. And as I sit here, there's probably a handful of players that may, again, not knowing a lot of them, some of them personally, but just from what I see in their actions. And again, Mo, I'm gonna use this till I'm gone. When you're investing in the talent and the person, and they're not mutually exclusive. And I've got to be on board with both equally. Can't be just the talent. Cannot be just the talent, because that alone is not going to lead to sustained success or growth and enhancement of your team culture.
You know what I find ironic, right? Is the talent of Luka is never in question. The thing that may be in question is the effort and the defense, right? But I think that, first of all, this deal for Luka Dončić has cost him $120 million because he can no longer get the Supermax because he's no longer with the team that drafted him. Add to that, he now has to pay significant California taxes, whereas in Texas, where Dallas is, there's no state income tax, right? So this trade has cost him a whole lot of money. Second of all, his dad was on Slovenian television yesterday talking about this trade and whatnot. Luka really loved the city of Dallas. You know, he was invested in the community there. He really loved it. And this trade came as a huge surprise to him. I think they've just awoken a demon. I genuinely hope that Luka now is going to be more locked in than he's ever been before. Because you asked the question, will giving him $345 million make him change and make him whatever? Maybe, maybe not. But I think this situation now, where he went from feeling like they have a Luka Dončić day. I think it's like July the 6th in Dallas. The city has a Luka Dončić day, right? If he now knows that he can just be shipped out, I think we're going to see the best version of Luka Dončić that we've ever seen, because you can say what you want about his defense and whatnot. I know Luka a little bit. He is a competitor. Like, you saw it for one game in the final. Remember the game the Mavs won? He was actually playing defense and everyone was like, oh my God, Luka can play defense. I think you're going to see that a whole lot more now. I think the way that they handled the situation and the way that he's gone out the door and what they put in the media after talking about defensive championships, Luka was 270 pounds. I really think they may have awoken a demon here in Luka Dončić.
With Mo, if you're the Lakers, that's what you're counting on. That's what you're hoping for. Because, you know, this league, and BJ knows this, going back to the time he played and well before him. A lot of times when trades are made and you take a guy from one situation and bring him to yours, that new situation always believes that they can change whatever past behavior that was deemed not positive and make it a positive because they're in their place now. And guess what? Only time will tell. We can sit up here and pontificate on it all we want. I think it's. I agree, and Luka has lost it. You bring up some great points. They can be great motivators for people in general. But Luka Dončić has already made a lot of money. Again, I'm not downplaying the fact that he, lost potentially $120 million with this trade, $140 million, whatever. That is a heck of a lot of money. But he has a lot of money already. He's going to continue to make more money in Los Angeles. Money is not, quote unquote, going to be his.
No, it's not the money. It's the pride and the way in which they got him out.
No, I get that. But
when your pride is hurt like that, like I remember when I was young.
Mo, that's just your ego, though.
Ego,
yeah. But some of the best things in the world come from that. I wouldn't be sitting here today. I remember my first ever girlfriend I had, when we broke up, she called me broke. So what I do? I grinded harder than ever before, and here I am today. So Luka's been traded by the Mavs. They called him fat. He's gonna go harder than he ever has before. Ego is necessary to win.
Okay, well, why wouldn't he have done that in Dallas?
Because, like you said, he was comfortable. He was given the keys to the franchise.
Well, if that's what it.
Okay. And now the Lakers are bringing him in and saying you're our guy for the next decade.
Yes,
but now It's not so much the Lakers. He can do this as a middle finger to Dallas.
Yeah, like I said, we can pontificate on it all we want. It's basically what you're saying is what you're betting on is something that we haven't seen him do yet in terms of the being 240 or 245 or whatever the right weight is for him, and being in condition all the time and being at least this responsible help defender night in, night out.
Yeah, just play how you played game 4 of the finals, just every night.
Yeah, we're gonna do that for 70. We're gonna do that for 70 games. We're gonna do that in 70 regular season games because I'm not gonna 82.
He can do it. He's just choosing not to do it.
Do you know how many? Right? Do you know how many players can do it and choose not to?
Not to.
Because
this is what I'm saying.
If it was easy to turn on and off like that, How many
Everyone would
guys
do
were
it.
self-corrected?
Okay.
That's all I'm saying.
Okay. Okay.
What we're asking is not what you're saying again. I hope he does what you say for his sake. I would love to see it. That would be phenomenal if he did that. But what you're betting on, a part of human nature that if it was that easy to turn on and turn off, if it just took one moment to piss me off like that, okay, now I'm gonna do it every day, and I was doing it once a month. That's a big ask. Now maybe he's one of the select few that can do it. We'll see.